table. 6 o'clock, actually 6:07. Thorn Swift time. And it's funny, before I get into the crux of this conversation on medicinal, wild medicinal, edible, invasive. You have to pardon me, my mind's a little slow. Been a long day. Been a long series of days, but good days. I would like to mention, it's funny, and this is something that should give you satisfaction and relief in your daily life, is you know how sometimes something rotten can happen, something that just like cranks you. But then the next day can be very good. This day isn't over. Who knows what's going to happen? But last night I had to boot a couple of snarly customers who they're getting out of their car with fishing poles. Well, hooks and lines on a beach, you know, we're a swimming beach, kind of a non-starter. They were pretty ticked off on that. Conversations ensued, culminating with me saying, I think it's time for you to leave. And them leaving from where they parked all the way around here and down the road, laying on their horn. So I'm assuming they were upset. That bugged me. But I was mostly bugged because I didn't take a picture of their car license plate and them so I could print it off and glue it to the back of my clipboard. Banned for life. Heck yeah. But tonight, there's a fellow just rolled in here, nice fellow, JT, was swimming and took his money out of his shorts because he didn't have a swimming suit, he just had his shorts, so he took his money out, left it on the beach. He comes in and says, man, I left a bunch of money down at the beach, I hope it's still there. And I'm like, don't worry, JT. The people that have been here today are not the kind that are going to steal. If anything, if they found it, they would have returned it to me. No questions, no question about that. And JT just left, really nice guy. Happy because his bills were still laying in the sand where he left them. Nobody messed with them. But on to the subject. This morning, I wasn't painting the outhouse. Started that project, and it's like the funnest thing that any human possibly do in July on a hot day, being in an outhouse painting it. But I wasn't able to do that because I did a plant walk, a plant class, a plant workshop. And it's tough when you think of plants. There's so much to talk about. How do you take these people off the mean streets of Harbor Springs and get them in tune with everything necessary to understand medicinal, edible, and invasive plants? So I go about it this way. First, I would talk about what is medicinal. It ranges. You know, there's mind, body, spirit, and so medicinal could mean taking in, ingesting in several modes, some compounds that can attack certain system problems in your body, whether you need something antibacterial, antifungal, antiviral, something to cure congestion, what have you. But it can also cover your calcium deficient or vitamin D deficient or vitamin B's. There's more than one B's deficient, or vitamin A, vitamin K, folic acid, what have you. That's a big list. And so in that way it could be medicine too. What about just feeling good about things? The natives in this area, and it goes beyond, have plants that are considered four medicines. I would add the fifth one, coffee, but that probably won't fly. But the four medicines: sweetgrass, tobacco, I'm going from the north, sweetgrass north, hair of Mother Earth, tobacco in the east, you know, the plant tobacco ceremonies, giving thanks for whatever we use, have, possess, are able to enjoy. The south is cedar and the west is sage. I find that interesting because as you go along, let's say your timeline, your personal timeline, where you start in the circle at a point on the circle, the north, from sweetgrass to tobacco to cedars to sage. And if you think of it in terms of your life, the north, the beginning and the end, going around, and by the time you hit the west, the sagey part, you are a sage, you are a wise person. What do you call a wise person? Thou is a sage. Sageth, sagey. And so there you have it. So the medicines of the mind, the spirit, the body, curing specific ills. So medicine actually can cover a lot of stuff, not only just the physical, but the metaphysical. And then I go into, well, the plant itself. Trees are plants. We're usually working with the smaller plants, but the roots, the stems, the leaves. The stem includes with trees the inner bark, which some people don't realize it, but the inner bark of a tree might be your greatest source of nutrition. You're out there, and let's face it, if you're dumped in the woods and you're relying upon wild plants as substance, and you're out there for a period of time, you're going to lose a lot of weight. It's a lot harder than you might read in the books or the YouTube videos. It's a hard way to go trying to live off of just plant life. And that's why in the beginning, people were hunter-gatherers. And you would eat the whole animal. You wouldn't just eat the lean meat of a chipmunk or a ground squirrel. You would eviscerate them, take their intestines out, but you shouldn't take away their livers and their kidneys and their brains and all that stuff, because that's where the fats are. And gut meat is very nutritious, so you could eviscerate them, get it. You don't want to eat intestines. What's in intestines? Not good. So cut that out. Take the rest of them, dry them on a rock, and then pound them. Bones and all, bones and guts, minus the intestines. So you get that goodness. Little known fact, that if you just ate rabbits, you're out in the woods, you're trapping rabbits, and you just ate the meat of the rabbit, you would starve. They call it rabbit starvation. And it's not because the rabbit is starving, it's because you're not getting the fat. And so you eat the whole rabbit, not just the lean meat, but plants. Although, in this area, Michigan is a wonderland of edible plants, and you can fill your belly with them. You're not going to get so many calories unless you're finding nuts and seeds, which the nuts and seeds are the one parts of the plant that are loaded with the fats, the good fats, and the terpenes, and the saponoids, and all these cool things that we'll forget in 5 minutes. I forget where I'm going from there. But what I did, delivery methods. Of course, you can just eat stuff. You could pull a burdock root out of the ground, roast it, a cattail root out of the ground, the pollen of cattail, which is tasty, tasty stuff, very nutritious. Shoots. This one's empty because I drank it all. I don't drink it. But teas, infusions, decoctions, and tinctures. And did you know that smoking is a delivery system? People smoke stuff to get stuff out of a plant. I know that we pure of heart do not realize that and have never done that. Oh no. Hi, Larry. Picking on you. But smoking is a delivery system, whether it's Latuca virosa, wild lettuce, or the Latuca, I forget the name of the native North American species, or peppermint. Smoking peppermint is a calming agent. Smoking is a delivery system. I'm not going to do it because of the sawdust I ingest. I'm scared of breathing stuff and getting stuff into my lungs. So I make teas out of it. Teas, infusions, decoctions, tinctures. Teas are the simplest ones. Where do I have it? Here's some blue vervain. Verbena. I didn't make a tea out of it because I didn't want to accidentally poison one of my guests. I had 12 people today go through this, and so I just let them sniff the verbena and told them how it's a tremendous plant if you make infusions. Now I'll get to what that is. It's good for respiratory ailments, curing congestion. In my case, I cured myself of the effects of pneumonia. Pneumonia. The P is silent. P is always silent. Bad inside joke. Okay, so you have teas, infusions, which are like strong teas. You actually boil the plant in it instead of just steeping it. Decoctions usually include chopping up the roots, stems, leaves, flowers, everything, boiling the heck out of it. So it's like tea times 100 is a decoction, infusion tea times 10, and then tea is tea. Tea times 1, the prime number of tea. And I had several things here of varying strength. I gave them lavender tea, calming, very calming. Sage, calming. These were brutally strong because I'm not worried that I'm going to poison anyone with just common sage and lavender. So they got to test that in these little cups. I had wild ginger, which brewed only strong enough for a taste, because wild ginger is not like the ginger that grows in the tropics where you can just eat the heck out of it and not worry. Wild ginger actually, warming effects, it allows you to sweat, tasty, has a good bite to it like ginger. Compounds in there which if you have too much can make you sick. And some people may be allergic to it. Monarda, which this isn't Monarda, I shifted up the lids. This is actually Monarda. But for this simulation, Monarda Bee Balm. Well, either Bee Balm or Wild Bergamot, because we have both, and I know the leaves are very similar, the taste is similar. Taste of Earl Grey tea, that extra little bite in it. This was brewed strong too. No real fear of like people getting poisoned by it. And yarrow. Yarrow is a good thing. Acquired taste, calming, relaxing, can stop bleeding. And so it's a great plant. And that's why it has Achilles in its Latin name. Achilles with the wound on his back here, the back of his ankle. So it stops bleeding, and that's why it has Achilles in the Latin name. And so, let's see, where else I'm going to go from that. These were all actually infusions because I boiled them. And just determined the strength by how much material I put in each one. People got the opportunity to taste these wild teas. And they're good if you blend them. And then I had this Latuca Verosa, the wild stuff. I just showed them. I didn't smoke it or anything. And so we go. Delivery systems for getting stuff. You're helping me watching this, actually, because it helps me sort my thoughts and help me do better programs. Okay, now as far as learning stuff, you know, if I sat down and just spewed Latin names and what components are found in, say, verbascum thapsus or common mullein, no one would remember that. It's that whole story. If you give a person a stinging nettle, they have stinging nettle for a day, but if you teach them how to identify and propagate it, they'll have stinging nettle forever. And so I have these things I shall show you. And I'm actually kind of reluctant to use these for the purpose I made them. Bladder campion. That should say invasive. You know, as far as its uses. And it goes through royal fern, snowberry, creeping snowberry, on and on. These are going to be placed on the ground next to the plants along the walk. There's 84 of them. And I'm pretty amazed that when I'm looking through here, I play Texas Hold'em, that there are this many plants out there. And it's like, how do you teach people stuff? Well, organization and not expecting people to retain all this knowledge up here, but put together a resource so that information is at your fingertips. And so this serves several purposes. You've got easy to grasp information, and you can also organize them. Place them into different piles, such as things in the Laminaceae family, the mint family, something like 40,000 different species, which all sages are salvias and all salvias are mints. And then you have the mints, characterized by square stems most of the time. Some of the salvias and sages, they're so subtle you can't tell that the stems have a square cross-section, as well as the leaf structure and on and on. So you can group them that way. You can group the ferns into fern groups and then break them down further. Wild ginger is kind of on its own because we don't have other plants that are in the same genus here. Organize them according to flower color, whatever. You could, I shouldn't say whatever, you could organize them as far as habitat. There's a stream right here. That's where I planted my, my stinging nettle. In my backyard, in this front yard, I have little ecosystems where I have planted, sometimes buying things, seeds and starts, tubers, like bulbs, off the internet, and then planted them in these little habitats. So you can organize things. What can you do at home? I'm not going to take a plant walk with you because you're not here. So you're just going to have to simulate. After all this stuff, then I walked people around. You can take a survey of your environment and go through, make a list of the plants you have. This is Pipacissua right there, Princess Pine. an example. And I've got a picture of the flowers and the leaves. Simply take an inventory of all the plants in your environment. Go through. Those that you don't know, even like this little thing, Veronica or common speedwell, this little insignificant looking little tiny plant, it has uses. Trains you to use a field guide. So you've got this binder, and I've got these little, these little plastic things here, and you can slide pages into it. Pictures of stuff, descriptions of its medicinal uses, and here's what I have. The name, the Latin name, edibility, medicinal uses, different notes, whatever. I say that a lot, but I really don't. Cautions on this. Some of these have cautions. And so you can create your own list. And by just doing this physical activity of writing, investigating, keying out with a field guide, you can learn a lot of stuff. You can learn more stuff than you're able to learn. This helps. This is like another hard drive plugged into your mind, as it were. And at this point, going through this was fun because I have these things. I should make another set of these, which I could, just to keep loose like this. I had 12 people, and just like split these amongst. You take this, and then Sandy, you take this. Logan, you're gonna get this pile. James, you get this pile. Bonnie, you get this pile. And as we walk, I'm going around describing the habitat, some issues with invasives. It's like, oh my goodness, look at this is dark, but you see that splotch of sunlight there? That's where you need to be concerned with possible autumn olive or marsh thistle or forget-me-nots or Eurasian honeysuckle, whatever. Then I talk about means of controlling those. But when I identify plant, it's like, okay, who has oxeye daisy? And then they would look through their cards, and then whoever had it would read about it and then point to the plant. And that worked out really nice. And hopefully, at least, the person that read each one, broadleaf toothwort, which are hard to find now, cardamine, diphylla, is gone, so they didn't see that one. But purple-stemmed angelica, we have that. Angelica atropurpurea. That person probably learned that plant and some of its uses, and so got into that. Hopefully, most or all of them will create their own inventory and research what they have growing around them. And that, I've got some people wandering around. It is time to actually get back to work. Thank you for watching. Have a great day, and watch out for people that are trying to fish on your beach when you don't allow fishing.